Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the head of state receives the credential letter of four new ambassadors. For the national scene, COVID-19 concerns about the Delta variant in Europe. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, received this Wednesday at the Palace of the Republic the letter of credence of several new ambassadors to our country. First of all, it was the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, His Excellency Khadijatou Mbarek Fall, took advantage of his respective letters of credence hearings to salute the many advances made in Djibouti under the leadership of President Guelleh. Then the ambassador of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Edward Holisha Makaya. These diplomats have also stated their determinations to work to strengthen the level of cooperation and exchanges of his respective countries with the Republic of Djibouti. The ambassador of Canada, His Excellency Chepchun Tuwari Jobin, took advantage of his respective letter of credence to the President of the Republic, herein to salute the many advances made in the Republic of Djibouti under the leadership of President Guelleh. These diplomats, non-resident, have the status of ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary in his country to the Republic of Djibouti. The new ambassador of Canada also paid an equally strong tribute to our country. I am aware that Djibouti makes a unique contribution to regional security, he said in substances. And at last, the ambassador of Swiss Confederation, His Excellency Pietro Mona, said that in her letter of credence that this diplomat non-resident have status of ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary in his respective country to the Republic of Djibouti. He said your great experience as a statement and wise leaders have enabled you to achieve immense gain for the people of Djibouti, said the ambassador. The Police Academy in Nagar hosted this morning the 44th anniversary of the National Police, a ceremony that takes place every June 22, postponed for today. As it is customary, the ceremony was held at first light. This 44th anniversary placed under the aegis of the Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Nuh Hassan, and because of the sanitary constraint related to the pandemic of COVID-19, the ceremony was characterized by a symbolic taking up of arms to the tightened devices, which replaces the traditional ceremony of the parade. Upon his arrival, the Minister of Interior, Saeed Nuh Hassan, was welcomed by the Director General of the National Police, Colonel Abdullahi Abdi Farah. Then the Minister of Interior, Saeed Nuh Hassan, saluted the flag and subsequently conducted a review of the troops. And also the participation of the Minister of Defense, Mr. Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, the Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Assowe, and General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Djiboutian Armed Forces, commanders of the Republican Guard, the great leaders of the Egyptian armed forces and allies participate in this ceremony. This ceremony was placed under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Ilmi Daher Migil. The Minister of Interior, Said Nuh Hassan, accompanied by the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, went to the stele symbolizing the monuments of the martyr to deposit a wreath of flowers in homage to the martyrs of the National Police Forces fallen in the file of honors for the defense of the land and the peace in the world. After the symbolic taking up of arms by the officials, they moved to the amphitheater of the Police Academy of Nagas for the projections of a reportage realized on the occasion of the 44th anniversary of the creation of the National Police, entitled Modernity and Future Prospects. This report was focused on the services of the police health, which includes a dozen specialists unique of their kind in our country. The second part of the report was devoted to the technical and scientific laboratory of the National Police, defined in several parts: the ballistic section, the triage room, judicial identity section, the biology section. The ceremony of the 44th anniversary of the National Police continued with a buffet offered to arrange it. On this occasion, it's by the command of the National Police in the serene atmosphere and animated by a group harpy and closed by the traditional family photo. The General Director of the National Police, Colonel Abdullahi Abdi Farah, stressed in his speech that in his statement made in the offices that the police uniform is a guarantor of the Republican order because it reminds everyone that it is a primary function is the protection of citizens. In the second part of his statement, the General Director of the National Police, Colonel Abdullahi Abdi Farah, addressed his thanks to all members of the government and in particular to His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh and the First Lady Khadra and the President of the Unity Khadra Mahmoud Haid. The ceremony of the 44th anniversary of independence in Arhiba with the approach of the national holidays of June 27, the evening of animations are organized everywhere in the capital. After the People's Palace, it is in the Arhiba city that a big party to commemorate the 44th anniversary of the national holidays was organized last night with the participation of officials including the Minister of Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe, the Mayor of Djibouti, and the officials of the Arhiba city. The national artists performed on the stage to animate the evening with the popular and patriotic song. The Minister of Interior, His Excellency Saeed Nuh Hassan, who received this morning's Wednesday, June 23, 2021, the coordinator of the United Nations system in Djibouti, Ms. Barbara Manzi. The discussion is focused on ways and means to strengthen the close ties that exist between the United Nations institution and the Republic of Djibouti. The minister then received this morning the representative of the International Committee of the Red Crescent in Djibouti. The discussions between the two parties focused on how to improve the links between the institutions and the State Department. On her side, the minister reiterated his commitment to the efforts to improve the relationship between the two parties. And to finish this day, the Minister of Interior, His Excellency Saeed Nuh Hassan, who received the UNICEF representative in Djibouti, Ms. Melba Johnson, the minister and representative of UNICEF discussed different issues of common interest, including the improvement of the living conditions of children in schooling, identifications, and others. The artillery regiment hosted this Wednesday, June 23, 2021, an important ceremony of end of training. This ceremony had two aspects. This artillery training is part of the acquisitions of knowledge of specific traits such as chief of artillery piece and pointer and others to prepare the successions of tomorrow. These specific trainings include the learning of the handling and the services of artillery weapons such as PM-21, the D-13 gun, and 120 millimeter mortar, chaired by the Ministers of Defense in charges of relation with Parliament, His Excellency Hassan Umar Mohammed Burhan, accompanied by the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim. This ceremony was attended by the Chief of the Brigade Staff, Brigadier General Tahiru Ali Mohammed, and the highest officials of the Djiboutian Armed Forces. On his arrival, His Excellency Hassan Omar Mohammed, accompanied by the General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, was welcomed by the Chief of the Artillery Regiment, Colonel Mohammed Hersi Omar. Then the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament conducted a review of the troops composed of the flag and its guarded elements of the picket of honors and trainees. Colonel Muhammad Hersi Umar, chief of the artillery regiment, delivered his speech, which gives an overview of the specificity of this training. Thereafter, the Commander Ali Elmi Buh, in charge of the training office, took the floor to proclaim the results. The best of each discipline were able to benefit from an exceptional promotion to the higher rank, for their merit and their dedication after months of sacrifices and courage. Then the CMGA made a point of congratulating and thanking the officers in charge of the good conduct of the various specialties in 2 training centers for their assiduous work and their personal investment without respite. As usual, the ceremony ended with the presentations of gifts and the traditional family photo. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdille, held an important meeting with a Turkish delegation of USHIA, led by the Turkish ambassador to Djibouti, Levente Shahin Kaya, and Professor Esh Shahil Hoglu, to discuss the Djibouti-Turkish health cooperation. The meeting took place in the presence of the Secretary General, Dr. Saleh Benoita Turab, and the technical advisor in charge of medical evacuation, Mr. Jama Elmi. The 2 parties raised several points on bilateral cooperation including the issue of medical evacuations of Djibouti patients in Turkey, training programs for doctors, and acquisitions of medical materials and equipment. The Minister of Muslims Affairs and Waqf, Mumin Hassan Barre, received this morning in his office Mohammed Mustafa Orfi, Ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt, accredited to Djibouti. During this meeting, which was attended by the Secretary General of the Ministry, Mr. Shuaib Adjal, and the Director General of the Al-Masatiya Institute, Mr. Al-Saleh Ahmed Abdallah, the minister welcomed the privileged relations that bind the 2 brotherly countries in all sectors of development. Then the 2 parties discussed the different issues concerning the bilateral cooperation relations. The Egyptian ambassador thanked the minister for the welcomes that was given to him to exchange and examine the means to further consolidate the partnership with the religious institutions of both countries. To do this, the emphasis is placed on the training components and training of trainers to meet the need for qualified personnel. The Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity, Uluf Ismail Abdo, received this Tuesday, June 16, in his office, the Food Agriculture Organization representative in Djibouti, Dr. Pisong Chongai Dademanao. After congratulating the ministers for her appointment as the head of this department, the representative held through a few words to summarize the Department of Social Affairs Solidarity for the recent collaboration that was made through a project. Indeed, he recalled that approaches such as the Resilience Fund are all in harmony in the programs conducted by the ministry. The two personalities discussed several topics of general interest focused in the area of their collaboration. The Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development, Mohamed Abdul Qadir Musa Helem, received in his office Ms. Barbara Manzip, resident coordinator of the United Nations system, accompanied by Mr. Nicolas Guimard and Habib Harbi. The meeting was attended by Dini Abdullah Umar, Secretary General of the Ministry of Environment, Sustainable Development, Hussein Rirash Roble, Director of Environment and Sustainable Development, Aden Elmi, Technical Advisor to the Minister, the Resident Coordinator of the United Nations System, and the Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development exchanged on the ways and means to implement the Millennium Development Goals. The Minister of Communication, Radwan Abdullahi Bahdoun, received this morning the courtesy visit of the Ambassador of the United States in Djibouti, Mr. Jonathan Pratt. The minister welcomed the U.S. ambassador, who thanked him for his welcome. The discussion is focused on ways and means to strengthen cooperation between Djibouti and the U.S., which cherishes strong ties in many areas, including the communication. The Minister of Communication promised his support to the ambassador for the success of his mission in Djibouti. For his part, the U.S. Ambassador Jonathan Pratt stressed that his country is committed to the side of the Djiboutian government to support the efforts of economic, social, and cultural development. The meeting between the Minister of Communication and the ambassador was held in the presence of their collaborator, including the advisor, Ms. Fatuma Abdi Ali. The closing of the two-day workshop at Guled Stadium on the Palace of Women in the Sports and its evolution from the file to the televisions and the offices of Federation. It is in this context that the Secretary of State in charge of sports, in collaboration with the National Olympic Committee and the various sports federations, have on June 21-22 conducted a two-day workshop on the places of women in sports in Djibouti. During this workshop, different points were raised, such as the place of the media for the broadcasting for more visibility of women's competition, but also to allow them to take the floor to change little by little things in sports and societal environmental. To this end, speakers from all disciplines spoke about their rich and different experiences, but also with the sincerity to provide some answers to the problematic related to gender. A delegation of the French-speaking network of media regulators known as RIFRAMS and the High Independent Authority of Audiovisual Communication arrived yesterday afternoon at the headquarters of the National Commission of Communication in the framework of a working visit devoted to the execution of a peer review. This delegation, composed of Mr. Jean-François Furmemont, experts, and Nouri Lajmi, president of the HICA, the High Independent Authority of the Audiovisual Communication, also president of RIFRAM, were welcomed by the president of the Independent National Commission, Mr. Ali Mohamed Dimbio. At the end of this warm welcome, the two parties held a brief contact meeting in the offices of the president of the CNC. Before starting the meeting, Mr. Ali Mohamed Dimbio guided the delegations in the monitoring room, where several screen broadcasting the different channels of RTD are installed. Once the guided towers was over, the review by peers organized the reframe in media regulations. The National Communication Commission volunteered to conduct this review and benefit from the experience of HICA, the Tunisian Media Regulator Authority. This new approach is a continuation of the project entitled Towards a Structured Implementation of Peers Review, which was conducted in 2018 under the Swiss presidency of RIFRAM. For his part, the president of the National Commission of Communication, Mr. Ali Mohamed Dimbio, thanked the delegation for its interest in the development of the National Commissions of Communication, a young institution that he said will benefit from the experience of HICA. For the international scene in Europe, the Delta variant of COVID-19 is a concern. In an attempt to contain its spread, Poland will introduce a mandatory 7-day quarantine for all travelers from Great Britain, even now for those who tested negative before arrival only fully vaccinated people will be exempted from quarantine. And the World Health Organization expressed concern Tuesday about the easing of restrictions in some of Euro 2020 host countries, calling for quick responses after increase in coronavirus cases around several stadiums. The British authority announced on Tuesday that more than 16,000 spectators would be allowed at Wembley for semi-finals and final of the tournament, compared with the 40,000 initially planned and 22,000 in the first round. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.